Up from the Gates, a story of divine dealing through Dunkirk by Captain H.E. Beresford Mash. Chapter 10, Down by the Gates. A parable is told in streams in the desert concerning the formation of the wonderful canyons in the prairie lands out in the west. Before these were formed, the legend tells us, the broad open plains stretched far and wide, unbroken in their contour. One day, the master of the prairie, walking over the great lawns where only grass was visible for miles around, asked the prairie, "Where are your flowers?" The prairie answered, "Master, I have no seeds." So the master spoke to the many birds, and they carried seeds of varied flowers and scattered them over the face of the prairie, and soon the grassland bloomed with gay and pleasing color, joyous. The master came again and was pleased with all he saw, how much better it was. As he looked carefully, he found there were still some flowers missing, flowers that were especially dear to him, but which were of a tender and delicate growth. "Where are those, my sweetest flowers?" he asked. And came the reply, "O master, I cannot keep those flowers. When the seeds are scattered, the sun beats hot upon my breast, and they wither and fail. The winds sweep fiercely over me, and they are torn away." The master went away sadly and spoke to the lightning. Clouds gathered over the breast of the prairie. The skies darkened. In the distance was heard the roll of thunder. And as the threatening storm gathered to a climax, there came one vivid flash of lightning which, with a terrific stroke, cleft the prairie to the heart. The prairie rocked and groaned with the agony of the shock. And as the cataclysm rolled away, there was revealed a deep and gaping wound right across the face of the prairie. But see, the waters trickled over the edge of the cleft, slowly at first, then gradually in streams, and the waters carried the deep black mold down into the cleft, filling the niches and in the rocky sides. As soon a rich velvet carpet was spread over the side of the declivities. The birds came again with the precious seed. This time how easily the seed lodged in the sides of the canyon, where they found shelter and protection, soil and water. The steep sides of the canyon were soon arrayed with those very flowers the master most longed to see, and they grew best where the wounding had been suffered. The master came again, seeking the precious flowers and flowers of a delicate growth, and he found them multiplying with ease in the shelter of the prairie's wound. Does the parable need any explanation? Some people would say that's a parable that bounces off the biblical theme, or maybe combines different scriptures from elsewhere into that idea. Down in our valleys, through hard experience and travail, we are enriched by those blessings which are deepest and richest. Here, the finest flowers of patience, faith, and trust spring to birth, even if it be in the valley of the shadow. Even there, down by the gates, we find treasure beyond price, the touch of his hand, the sense of his nearness, the realization of his power, and the demonstration of it bring us safely through the darkest depths. Down by the gates, it is utterly true, death is swallowed up in victory. Satan is a doubly defeated foe, for not only may the gates of death fail to close upon us when the Lord brings us back, but down there by the gates, the experience of him is so amazing as to fill the soul with triumph. Death is swallowed up in victory. There are two implications to escape death. That is negative, passive, to be swallowed up in victory, and that is positive, active. So too the experience down by the gates is not merely a miraculous deliverance from the bands of death, but an overwhelming contact with life through the presence of Him who delivers. Which brings me to say that perhaps I was not strictly correct in the title given to my book, although the title was not a purely personal choice. A reference to the passage in Psalm 9 from which the phrase up from the gates is taken shows that the word up rightly belongs to the group of words immediately preceding it. The first 5 words are all connected and should not be separated. Thou that liftest me up from the gates of death. Is it also the word that people use for hell? Says the writer, and the first 5 words are linked together. Perhaps this connecting together in the original is not without deeper meaning, because it is very true that there can be no lifting up without thou. Only He can lift up from the gates of death, and we gladly testify to the truth implied in these words of the book, that the lifting up from the gates is connected unalterably with a person. He sent from above, He took me, He drew me out of many waters. Now, many cultures, if you translate it into English, use the term the sent one or something to that effect for the prophets. The singer of Israel, not the modern state, goes on to tell us what purpose was this lifting up from the gates of death in his own experience, for he came back from the valley of the shadow. He continues, that I may show forth thy praise in the gates of the daughter of Zion. Now, people talk about the shadows of the dead. Most, we can talk about the memory, the legacy, and the energy left behind that's not necessarily connected anymore to the being that once inhabited that body. Yes, there are other gates, and if we are among those who are called to pass down into the valley of the shadow and then to be brought up from the very gates, it is solely in order that we may testify, and that in strategic places, to His dynamic power who brought us up again. O world of wonders, I could say no less, that I should be preserved in that distress, that I have met with here. O blessed be that hand that from it hath delivered me. But since I live, let Jesus wear the crown. Now, since I don't have the John Bunyan source before me, I don't know if that's pause for effect or whether that is words left out. And remember, when what's called the Old Testament refers to nations, they don't refer to just different nations. They refer to those who turn their back on God. And it's not the same thing as not being a Jew. Guya is who turned their back on God. So Goyim is the plural for that. Well, Goyim wouldn't be a proper Aramaic pronunciation. Okay, so verse 13, mercy on me, see how my enemies torment me, snatch me back from the jaws of death. And there's psalms that are built on that everlasting gates part. Okay, so the pit, Sheol,